It is time once again, the first of our two football podcasts per week. This is week 10 in the NFL, the review show. Week 10 is in the books. We're looking ahead now to week 11, but let's go over week 10. Al, how you doing? And are you ready to go over week 10?
Doing good, man. Ready to go over it. I mean, the NFL always delivers. Another fun week to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, really consistently bet more than any other sport.
It really does. That's why it was so weird early in the season when there were so many bad games. You know, like it's
Yeah,
it's we're getting used to this no preseason era, and maybe the teams will adapt eventually to make the games better early. But whatever, it got there, and it took exactly the amount of time of an old school preseason. So we are here, and we are in the glory days.
absolutely. We got some great finishes here, and one of them was right out of the gate, maybe the best game of the week. But there's some other contenders as well. But right out of the gate, Baltimore over Cincinnati, 35-34. We both predicted high scores. I had 35-30. You had 30-24. Uh, we both got it right. We both picked Baltimore, but Cincinnati, they had this game. They should have won this game.
Oh man, well this listen, these two teams have had two of the best games in the entire league all season. You know, the first one was like this too.
Yeah, and the numbers are off the charts.
Abso-freaking-lutely. I mean, just incredible. Absolutely incredible
Yeah,
game. The numbers are insane. Jamar Chase, good God.
264 yards and three touchdowns on 11 catches.
Incredible. And that's without T. Higgins. So that's knowing that he's the guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, I mean, he's the guy anyway, but he's extra the guy without T. Higgins and still couldn't stop. He was wide open on a couple of those catches, too.
Joe Burrow, 428 yards and four touchdowns, no picks.
Yeah, man. Oh, by the way, I
Holy
forgot
crap.
to forgot to bring it up last week, but did you see during Halloween week any of the Macaulay Culkin dressed up as Joe Burrow pictures?
I did not.
Oh, I'll try and find one and send it to you. It's so funny because I've always thought he looked like Macaulay Culkin, and apparently I'm not the only one. Everybody was like, "Oh yeah, we all know that." But it was hilarious. Macaulay put on a Bengals uniform and sat on his lawn, and I mean, it was priceless.
That's fantastic. Um, Lamar, 290 yards, but also four touchdowns and had another 33 on the ground. Um, he targeted Tylan Wallace
Yeah,
for
yeah. I never even heard of Tylen
115
Wallace.
yards.
When he was running down the sideline for that long touchdown, I was asking myself if Mike Wallace came out of retirement.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he had 115 yards, but 84 from were on that play.
Yes. And yeah, and listen, I don't think he's anybody to pick up in your fantasy league or anything, but great little day for the big day for the young man. And maybe he is an up and comer. I don't know. I think that's more a result of them having good options, and he just happened to have that kind of day. But what a moment for the guy. I mean, his did you see that freeze frame they showed on the his tight roping down the sideline where his toe was in bounds. His heel, if he had touched the ground, would have been out of bounds, but he kept it in the air. So he toe tapped and stayed out of bounds and got an extra 40 yards and a touchdown out of it.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I just got a call that I thought I got rid of all my calls, and I did not apparently. So
No
I
worries.
apologize. You were going down. You said that when he was going down the sidelines, the freeze frame.
Yeah, there was a freeze frame of him where his toe was in bounds. His heel, if it had come down, would have been out of bounds, but he kept the heel in the air and kept on running. So he was clear. But it was, I mean, literally, he kept that heel in the air by an inch or two.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I remember that. Actually, now you're saying it, pretty much. Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
that.
it was a nice replay. It was a good one. Yeah, that was a hell of a play. Yeah, no, that was a heck of a game, man. I mean, there's so much with this game. I mean, so much. You know, I mean, we should maybe we jump. You want to run the stats and then we can talk about the ending of the game?
Well, I mean,
Anything other than the quarterbacks worth mentioning and Chase?
not really. There was 14 penalties.
Oh, Chase
Um,
Brown.
yes, Chase Brown. Well, he only had 42 yards rushing, but then he had another 50 yards receiving. So he had like almost 100 yards and a touchdown combined. And if they can find a solid back to solidify that backfield and be the main guy, I think that would benefit them greatly. But just in general, Cincinnati, they're 4-6. They're probably not going to make the playoffs. They dug themselves that hole early, but there's no denying the fact that they're playing much better the last like 3-4 weeks.
No
No
doubt. I mean,
doubt.
this is I think the team we thought they would be, not the record, but the way they're playing the last ever since they got just stuffed by the Eagles and only put up 17 points. They've been on fire. I think
Yeah.
it's 3 games in a row now. They've scored a ton of points. Um,
Yep.
and yeah, this is the team we thought they would be. Now, is this enough to keep Zach Taylor's job at the end if they end up under 500? I'm very curious about what they think of him because I don't know where else to put these early season woes.
Yeah.
Because they're too good a team not to make the playoffs. They're just too good a team.
I agree.
Uh,
I agree.
and here's part of the reason they're not going to make the playoffs if they don't. The defense amidst this crazy game had 0 sacks and 0 picks. So the defense did absolutely nothing to help this game at all. And neither did the Ravens. We've wondered what happens with the Ravens here and there, and the answer is now clear. Their pass defense is one of the worst in football.
Yeah, it's abysmal. That's exactly what I was going to say. They that is eventually going to be their downfall. If they get eliminated in the playoffs, it'll be because they have no pass defense.
I agree. I completely agree. It's their
Which is
Achilles heel
weird
for
to
sure.
say about both any Ravens team not having a good defense, but they
So
don't.
weird, so weird, Craig. And I'm so with you. And I think that's why it took so long for me to identify it because even though it was happening, it's so hard for me to accept that the Ravens have not just a bad pass. Their run D's good. Their run D's solid, but their pass D, I believe, is 28th in the league as far as yards per game, and it's just brutal. So we talked about that with the Lions as that potentially being a fatal fall. The Lions have something the Ravens don't, and that is two safeties that are playing their butts off. Their corners are terrible, but their safeties are incredible. So they at least they have some plus in their weakness. Whereas other than Marlon Humphrey, I don't see a plus on that pass defense at all.
Totally agree. Um, yeah, it's just weird, like you said. It's so weird to think that the Ravens are not good defensively,
It
but
is.
they are great offensively, and Lamar is the MVP so far.
I completely agree. Completely agree. Absolutely. Yep. He just keeps playing incredibly. I mean, he has. I love with the new offensive coordinator this year. They have fully unleashed him, and boy, did he show he was ready, and probably was a couple years ago if they had done it. But man, he's playing incredibly well, and he's got that dual threat thing that very few people have, and it's just a beautiful thing to watch right now.
Yep. Um, as for T. Higgins, I'm looking here. He said he participated in Monday's walkthrough. So we'll see if he'll practice at some point this week. That's what that's what Zach Taylor said. We'll see where he's at this week in terms of trying to get him on the field practicing. So he's getting closer, but I don't, nothing definitive yet.
Yeah, and I mean, their offense is playing so well that if they get him back, I can't even imagine. Are they going to start scoring 40 points a week instead of 30 plus? So like that's just because man, that's. I mean, you can't discount how good T. Higgins is to throw in beside Jamar Chase. I mean, they might be the best 1-2 in the league. It's right there with the Eagles and a couple others. I'm not thinking of off the top of my head. Maybe the Dolphins. There's a
Yep.
couple 1-2 punches that are just spectacular, and you can make a case they're the best of them. I would probably lean towards my homer, but it's debatable for sure.
Totally agree. Let's move on because you mentioned something about Zach Taylor keeping his job.
Yeah.
Well, the New York Giants. I think some people are going to lose their jobs.
Yeah. The Dable is not getting out of this. No way.
20-17, Carolina over the Giants in Germany, and I called it.
I love it. I love it.
I actually got it right. I picked Carolina.
Love it, man. That's I. got to be the first time since we've started this pod that either of us got anything right by picking the Panthers.
Agreed. Agreed. I mean, I mean, it was just the Chuba Hubbard show. He had 153 yards because Bryce Young didn't do anything. Um,
Yeah,
they didn't receive anything really, and they only scored 20 points, yeah, they just I don't know. And then of course on the Giants side, Tracy 103 yards, but then the fumble.
the fumble in
Oh
OT.
man,
Felt so bad for this guy, man, because he's been looked so good,
he
And
has been
I mean,
so good, but I mean, he cost them the game.
yeah,
That's it. That was the
yep.
game.
Yeah. Now, I will say he was the only reason they were in the game. So, because the one fascinating thing I found about this game was that this was entirely two run offenses versus each other
Yep,
because the quarterbacks were awful. I mean, Bryce Young was terrible and Daniel Jones was worse. So, I mean, Jones was 22 for 37, 190 yards and two interceptions, I mean,
yep.
he's just, you know, he will be somewhere else as a backup maybe next year or fighting to be a backup more likely.
See, I think somebody will make him a starter.
You really do?
Somebody, I think somebody will look at him and think they can fix him enough to make him the starter.
Yeah, I would take that bet.
I
I
mean,
don't
but okay. Well, let me put it this way: I don't think he'll have to fight to be a backup. I think he'll definitely be a backup. Like he won't be an account. You know what I mean? I think
that I can
he'll.
agree with. That I can definitely agree with.
I think he will definitely be a backup somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. The fighting for the backup thing might be if he wants to go to one of the quarterback factory places and get better. You
Right,
know?
right, right. Absolutely, that's possible. Where if he's going somewhere where they already have a decent backup, and then he's trying, but
Yeah.
if, there's so many backups that are just garbage that teams kind of roll through them pretty quickly. If they're, if they get a chance and they're really bad, they just cut bait and move on. So
No, I'm
there's
with you.
usually a few backup jobs open, and he'll grab one of them.
I'm with you. That would be. I think that's the safe bet. And I would certainly, if I was the Dolphins this year, I would have rather had Daniel Jones backing up than the two guys they tried. So
Exactly.
I
There's a perfect example. There's a
yeah,
perfect example.
yeah. So yeah,
He's better than Tim Boyle.
yeah, right, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and I
So
would bet there we could list another 10 to 20 that he is clearly better than easily.
yeah. What about Anthony Richardson?
As far as what he'll be doing next year.
No, I'm talking about Daniel
Oh,
going to the Colts, Flacco retiring. Would he be the starter?
oh man.
That's like the positions. Those are where I'm thinking he might actually be a starter somewhere.
See, that's a
Like,
reasonable thought. Except, I mean, if they have any hope of Anthony Richardson becoming the guy they thought he was going to be,
yeah,
you're not bringing in a guy to really compete.
Tennessee.
Tennessee, 100%.
Yeah.
And a
Okay.
lot of that happens. You know what? Okay. Here's where I could fully get on board with your scenario about him starting. Is he gets drafted by a team with a top 10 pick that takes a quarterback that didn't have one, and he
Right.
starts the season as the starter, and either keeps the job because he plays awesome, or most likely loses it when they think the rookie's ready.
Can you imagine if Rodgers retires and he goes to the Jets?
Oh, that would be the greatest thing ever.
That
Well,
would
the
be
poor
so good.
Jets though, the poor Jets don't deserve that.
Oh, it was like a funeral on the sports talk this week on Monday morning. They opened with saying the worst football weekend in New York sports history. They said
Wow.
both teams' seasons ended on the same day.
Oh, that is priceless. Oh man, that is awesome. You gotta love
Okay,
the New York media. That's so great, man. That is so great. I love it.
not a whole lot to add here. I mean, it wasn't. It was kind of ugly, kind of what we expected, and
Yeah.
terrible for Tracy that he's the one who cost them the game. And yeah, that's how it goes. But I want to move on because we got one wrong, and the alarm bells have got to be going off. We both got this one wrong. New England 19-3 over Chicago. What is going on in Chicago?
Well, I'll tell you what's
Alarm
not
bells are
going
going
on.
off.
I'll tell you what's not going on, Craig, and that is Shane Waldron calling any more plays. Did you see he got fired in the
He
last
got
hour or two?
yeah, he got fired. Yep.
Yep. So, hard to argue. I mean, I don't know what happened. They had a 2 game stretch that is now 3 games removed that looked really good. We were both saying they were going. They had a, they were. This is them getting together. This is the rookie starting to play well. This is the team coming together. And then they had a bye week, which you expected them to come out even better than that, and they've been in the crapper ever since. So I don't know what it is. I don't know if Waldron's a bad coach. I don't know if it's Caleb Williams. I don't know what's going on. Their offensive line stinks. Did you see how many sacks that New England had this week? Oh my God, they had 9 sacks, Greg.
Oh my God.
9 sacks. So, by the way, Caleb Williams is now on pace to be sacked the second most times of any quarterback in league history, and I'm sure you remember that was David Carr for the Texans his rookie season. Um, so he's going to finish second to that record, which is almost like breaking, the hit streak in baseball by DiMaggio. It's so crazy big, such a crazy big number that nobody ever thought it would be touched. And after that 9 sack game, he's got a shot to touch it.
16 for 30.
Awful for 120 yards. Ugh.
I mean, Drake May still learning, still getting better. 15 for 25, 184 yards through 1 pick, but he also threw a touchdown, and he also ran for another 24. Um, Stevenson had 74 yards. Nothing crazy here. Hooper had 64 yards. Nothing crazy really on the stat sheet at all by either one. The craziest thing on the stat sheet is 3 points for the Bears in total and all those sacks. That's what jumps off the page.
Yeah, man. And I'll give you one other fun stat to go with that 9 sacks. The the Bears had, well, let me give you the bigger number first. The Patriots, who are one of the worst offenses in football, managed to have 328 yards of total offense. The Bears, 142 total yards, 69 passing because they're subtracting all the sack yardage from his 120 passing yards, and 73 rushing. That
Um,
is, I mean, that's how you get fired. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way you can't come back from that. So Shane Waldron might be a better coach down the road. It might be what he's working with. Who knows? It can be dicey circumstances sometimes to tell really what's going on, but
but
you can't let
what's
a guy.
happened? What has happened?
I don't know, because like I said, they were, we talked about this. We were both high on them like 4 or 5 weeks ago after that 2 game run. And then they just came back and they've been awful since. So I don't know. I can't figure it out.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's brutal, dude. It's brutal. I was surprised Eberflus survived that. The hacking of the coordinator buys him at least a couple more weeks, I guess. But I thought they might be coming for him.
Yeah. Real quick, back to the Giants.
Yeah.
They're on a bye week this week. When they come out of the bye, is Daniel Jones the quarterback and is Brian Gable the coach?
Oh boy, that's a great question.
I say yes to both.
I say yes to both too. I think those firings tend to happen pretty quickly after the bad losses, as we saw with Waldron. So I think we probably would have heard something by now if it was going to happen before the next game. And then as far as the quarterback, I mean, it's not like they got Johnny Unitas waiting on the bench, So
They got Tommy Cutlets though. They got Tommy Cutlets.
is he gonna? Are they gonna whether use him or Drew Lock? Because I would assume they're using Drew Lock, which is
You got to go
worse.
with Tommy DeVito. I would go with DeVito.
Oh man, yeah. I don't know, man. They don't have anybody worth a darn. So whatever they decide to do doesn't matter.
Right. All right.
And I want to throw one other stat at you about that game real quick, because the reason I picked the Giants instead of the Panthers among two awful teams is because the stats tell you that the Giants have a pretty good defense. Well, guess what they did this game against one of the worst teams in football? 0 interceptions, 1 sack. They
Yep.
did absolutely nothing to influence the outcome of this game.
Yep.
So much for that one thing to prop up about your team.
All right. Well, Buffalo
Aha.
over Indianapolis in Indianapolis, 30-20. By the way, Chicago lost to the New England at home. But anyway, um,
Oh, yeah, that makes it even worse. It's
Joe
crazy.
Flacco, yeah, he's coming back down to earth. The book's out. He threw 3 picks.
Yeah,
Really,
but
a main reason why they didn't win this one. Taylor,
yeah,
114 yards. He loves Alec Pierce, 81 yards for him. Josh Downs, 72. There's some good days here. Mitchell, another 71 yards. And then on the other side, you got James Cook with 80 yards. Allen ran for another 50 yards on top of his 280 yards passing, but Allen had no touchdowns and 2 picks.
yeah. This is what happens, and we have to remember this. I'm talking to myself as much as anybody. When he doesn't have his full complement of receivers, he struggles because they don't have a good receiving core unless they're all healthy. He was missing Amari Cooper and Keon Coleman this week, and this is what happens. We've seen it. You know what I mean? We've seen it. He has. Remember, it was like week 2 or 3 or something when I compared his stats to a Tim Tebow like game. He was missing Shakir in that game. So he
Yep.
needs his full complement of a very mediocre receiving core, which got better with Amari Cooper, who's played 4 quarters out of a potential 12 so far. I
Yep.
love Amari, but the dude is made of glass. And it sounds like he'll be back this week, but that's what we said last week. He's been practicing limited. When was the last time you heard of anybody practicing every practice limited for 2 straight weeks and not playing a game?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I mean that's just life with Amari. You know what I mean? Now when he's back, they're gonna love him. But so moving forward, I am definitely paying attention to what receivers are healthy and not when picking Bills games because it's a factor. Even though they won this game because they're a much
Well,
better
they
team than the Colts,
they did score 30 though.
hmm and they're a balanced team. You know what I mean? But it affects. Ooh, I just dropped my notebook. Hopefully that wasn't too loud. It affects Josh Allen's performance, which makes them less likely to win.
Right. He did run for a touchdown.
Oh, he's
And he had
awesome.
and he had 50 yards rushing.
Yeah, he's awesome, and he can overcome his own mistakes. But it's definitely a factor, man. He is. Well, you look at his stats when he's had all of his receivers and when he hasn't this year, and it's dramatic. It's dramatic. This is a theme across the league. Like we were questioning Jalen Hurts 6 weeks ago, you know,
Right.
and he's put himself in the MVP conversation over the last few weeks. So when you're missing AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, you're going to look like a worse quarterback. So it's something I don't always remember to give enough credit to when I'm factoring in my decisions on games. So I'm just trying to remember that moving forward.
Yep. That makes perfect sense. Um, yeah, Buffalo, they're just, they should have won that game. They were a much better team, and they did. And they took care of business. And we'll see about the health of their receivers moving forward. But let's move on. I've got Minnesota over Jacksonville in probably the worst game of the week.
Oh my goodness, you said it, my friend.
12-7. Who the hell wants to watch that slop? That's terrible.
You'd have to be the biggest of Homer Viking fans to enjoy that game, and if you were a Jaguar fan, I'm sorry.
Ugh.
Oh, and I want to flashback. I doubt you'll remember this, but last year I floated out the possibility of Mac Jones if he got out of New England, possibly not being as bad as he looked in New England because of the horrible circumstance up there. Just no offensive weapons, Belichick turning into a pumpkin in his last 5 years as a head coach, all those things. Um, it is not different. He is awful. 12 for 22 for 111 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That's the return of Mac Jones. He did rush for a touchdown.
Yeah. I mean, you got. I mean, Jacksonville. They're not going anywhere. But you got to give them a little bit of a pass on this one because Trevor Lawrence wasn't there, and as soon
No
as
doubt.
he was out, you thought you knew they were going to lose this game. But
No doubt.
actually, Minnesota. They have been floundering here a little bit. We both got this one right, by the way. We picked Minnesota. We both also got the Buffalo game right. We picked that. Um, but I mean, to only score 12 points,
Ugh.
I don't know. I don't know that's got to be alarming.
I'm with you 100%. And here's what's going on: the bloom is off the Sam Darnold rose. He is now, did you realize this, Craig? Because I didn't until I read this on CBS Sports. He is now leading the league in turnovers,
Really?
13 turnovers.
Yeah.
So now he's still has a very impressive completion percentage. He's still better than the Sam Darnold of old, but he's got to cut out the turnovers. It's like, it's the same theme with Jalen Hurts and every quarterback almost. Josh Allen. When they're good, they're not turning the ball over. When they're turning the ball over, games get dicey. So I don't know, man. Can he turn it back around, or is this the Sam Darnold for forever now? I can't wait to see it because I'm mystified by this whole thing, and it's looking like he might be turning back into a pumpkin, but I hope not.
Yeah, me too. Real quick, I'm sorry I keep going back to the other games because
No
I
problem.
keep forgetting to go to my notes. Keon Coleman is already out for next week.
Yes, and yes, I'm 100% with you there. And guess what? Amari Cooper still limited to practice.
Yes, and and Joe Flacco will remain the starter, even though they're 0-2 since they named him the starter.
Good call. I was wondering about that myself. I saw that too. Yeah, that was interesting to me. I think they need to give Anthony Richardson a month off, and then they can think about it.
I think so too, but we'll see.
Yeah, I wouldn't give up
Um,
on them if I were them. I mean, they're not. They're pot committed here, but for at least another year or two. But yeah, I think there's hope there. But boy, we didn't see much of it this year. Not much of it.
yeah, and Aaron Jones got a little bit banged up his ribs, but he should be. They were optimistic for him for next week.
Well, this is that time of year where Aaron Jones gets banged up.
Yeah,
I love him. He's a great player, but he's always nicked up.
yeah. All right, let's move
Oh,
on
and
here.
oh no, never mind. I'm sorry. Never mind. I think I had a Tourette's moment there. Sorry.
Okay, okay, no worries. Okay. The Chiefs win again, but once again they escape with a victory. They snatched the victory from the claws of the fee. Are you kidding me? They should have
Unbelievable.
lost this game.
Unbelievable.
16-14. Kansas City remains undefeated on a blocked field goal as time expires.
And it was a short one. It wasn't like the kicker was lowering his trajectory to try and make a 60-yarder. It was like a 35-yarder.
Yeah, it was a chip shot. I mean,
It was,
they lost. Like I'm going, oh shit, Denver's going to be the team to knock off Kansas City. Who would have thought it? Like I
yep.
was already writing it off because it was like you said, it was under 40 yards,
I know, man. It was almost an extra point, you know?
and they blocked the friggin' field goal and win. Are you kidding me?
Insane, Craig. Insane. I am now convinced the Chiefs are going undefeated because they would be the least likely team to ever go undefeated with the way they played. But games like that have to happen for it to happen. So that is a little tongue in cheek, but it honestly wouldn't surprise me now if they're going to win games like that.
Oh my God, nothing special really on the stat sheet. Mahomes 266 yards. I mean, that's fine. A touchdown, no picks, but only one touchdown. Kareem Hunt didn't run. They rushed for a total of 57 yards total as a
Yes.
team.
Kareem did have
Um,
7 catches for 65 yards, though.
he did, and Kelsey had 8 catches for 64 and a touch.
Yep.
So he's been
D
coming on
Hop
lately.
solid, 4 for 56. Four for 56 going up against Pat Surtain all day. By the way, might as well be 12 for 200 the way that
Right,
guy's
right,
been
right.
playing. So fairly impressive by D Hop. Don't give up on him if you had him in fantasy and were excited after his breakout 2 weeks ago.
Bo Nix has been coming on, and now he's got to start being in the conversation with all these other rookies that are playing so well.
For
He's been
sure.
getting better and better, and he is right there 22 for 30, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks.
And that's against this Chiefs D. That's not against the Panthers or something. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
that's really freaking impressive. Like he is now clearly, to me, clearly the second best of the rookie quarterbacks. He
yeah,
passed Caleb Williams a couple weeks ago. Um, and by the way, Drake May is probably past Caleb Williams now.
yeah,
If I'm ranking them, I'm going Jalen Daniels, Bo Nix, Drake May, Caleb Williams right now.
yeah. I think that's clear and hard to argue for sure. Um, they didn't. Rush for much. They only ran for 78 yards, so there was no running in this game, basically.
No, no,
And
yeah.
his favorite target is clearly Cortland Sutton, 70 yards and a touch.
Much like Pickens in Pittsburgh has been unlocked by Russell Wilson. The long, I mean, there are people out there that were calling for Cortland Sutton breakouts 3 years ago, and everybody's been like, "Oh, it's not gonna, it's never gonna happen." Well, here it is, folks, and it's real. He has been on fire, and it looks like it's not going anywhere. So this was his lowest yardage total in 3 weeks.
Yep.
So he's doing real. That is a real connection going on there. Bo Nix couldn't have been more impressive against this defense, putting up a decent game, like no turnovers. So super impressive, man. Can't say enough about it. And their defense is real. Their defense is real.
Yeah, I totally agree. Um, Anything more to add on that one?
No, I think
We
that's
both
all I
got
got on that one. Other than Casey getting out by the skin of their, whatever that saying is, I can't think right now.
skin of their teeth. Yeah. Okay, I haven't been mentioning the penalties because they were pretty good the last few games, so that's good. The
Okay.
next one had 14 again, um, but I don't know what's going on. New Orleans beats Atlanta 20-17.
Hmm.
We both got it wrong. We both picked Atlanta. Atlanta's been on a roll. New Orleans has been complete dog crap for a long time now, and they can't win a game. What is this? Would they lose 7 in a row?
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Yep.
Lost 7 games in a row. Atlanta's on fire, playing really well. So of course the Saints beat them 20-17
Of
because that makes perfect sense.
Of course. Now, here's the question I have. How in the hell does Vegas figure this out? Because we talked about that point spread being unusually low. You remember talking about that last week? It was a 2.5 point spread in favor of the Falcons, which seemed insane to me that it was
Yeah,
that low. And then the Saints win. So Vegas figures stuff out, man. I don't know what they know and how they do it, but it seemed like the most one of my rules I used to use, and I just don't bet anymore, is if it seems really obvious in one direction, go the other. And that's what happened this week. It doesn't always work, or I'd be rich. but
right.
but it's crazy, man. And by the way, one of the big factors in this loss is that their field goal kicker Koo missed 3 field goals.
Right, which is right. Which if he made them, obviously they would have won.
Yeah, well,
Um,
actually, one block and 2 misses. Can't put the block on him. I guess I
right,
shouldn't
right.
be more fair there. My bad. And did you see who had the big game for the Saints?
Marquez Valdez Scantling.
We we told the listeners they solved their receiver issues when they signed him. Now I was being completely sarcastic, but here it was, and that's a very Valdez Scantling stat line: 3 catches, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns. There's probably a drop or two in there too. I bet.
Yeah. No, he only had 3 targets and he caught all of them.
Okay, hey, look at that. His drop percentage just went up immensely. He might not be last all time now for a game or two.
Yeah. Alvin Kamara had combined over 100 yards,
Yeah,
no
he just keeps
touchdowns.
trucking.
Scantling with 2 touchdowns is crazy. And really nobody else did much. Um, the Falcons ran for 181 yards. Bijan
Robinson had a
Robinson had
huge game.
116 yards and two. Kirk Cousins threw for 300 yards and one. And Drake London 97 yards. Darnell Mooney 96 yards. Let me see something here. What is the total points or total yardage for the teams?
Oh, I didn't look that up on that one.
All right, the Falcons had 468 yards, and the
Man,
Saints only had 365. How in the hell did the Saints win this game?
that's crazy. It's the not putting the ball in the end zone and then missing the field goals because if you score 2 touchdowns out of those 3 scoring opportunities, it's 31-20 Atlanta.
How
If you score all 3 field goals,
about this? Time of possession 35 minutes for the Falcons.
yeah, yeah.
25 minutes for 20. 35 and change and 24 minutes and change for the Saints. They only had the ball 24 minutes.
Yeah, man. No, it doesn't make any sense. It's just the missed field goals. That's it. You know, I mean, they had the opportunity to win this game clearly, and if he makes one of those three field goals, the game goes to overtime. If he makes two or three of them, they win.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
Wow.
that was a bad loss for the Falcons. That's gonna when they're playing on the road in the playoffs, they're gonna think about this one.
Yeah. Yep. Um, yeah, I don't know. That was one of those weird NFL things that I just don't get. Goes against everything we've learned this year about these teams. I just don't get it.
And by the way, new coach bump.
New coach bump. There it is. That's right.
It happened again, dude.
That is right. I forgot all about it. That and we even mentioned it last week. I
Yep,
even
yep.
brought it up. I said, "Do you think they get anything for the new coach bump?" And we both said that is definitely a thing. But we both were so high on Atlanta, how well they were playing. We went with them anyway. And damn it,
much
we
like
should
my
have
theory
called it.
about much like my theory about receivers being out affecting the quarterbacks and having to look at that, we really need to remember this new coach bump and
Man,
actually apply it.
oh man,
Oh, I love it, man.
son of a bitch.
That's awesome.
All right, let's see here. The next one, another one of like, are you kidding me?
Mm.
Well, not well. Hang on. San Francisco
Aha.
escapes Tampa Bay 23 to 20. I caveated my way to an actual win this time because I said if CMC plays, I was going to go with San Francisco. He did,
Nice.
and they won 23 to 20. We both got this one right, and just the. I mean, Brock Purdy had probably. You think he had that was his best game of the year?
No doubt about it.
353 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks.
He looked awesome. He looked
He
like
really
The
did.
Purdy of last year.
Yep, I totally agree. McCaffrey on his return had 13 carries, 39 yards, caught another 68 yards through the air.
Yeah,
You
so
can't
much for
stop him
easing
both
him back,
ways.
right? 19 touches in first game back. You gotta love it.
Yeah, you can't stop. I mean, if you stop him on the ground, he's going to get you, with the pass
That's why he's so
receptions.
good and why he's so valuable in fantasy, for sure. By the
I
way,
mean, God,
real quick, I traded Dobbins for McCaffrey in week 5.
did you really?
Yep, and he's been sitting on my IR ever since. I've just been crossing my fingers, and boom, it's go time.
It is go time. Yeah. All right, awesome. Um, Baker Mayfield had a crap day. 18 for 29, 116 yards and 1 touchdown. That's an ugly, ugly line. Bucky Irving, 73 yards and a touchdown, and there's not. I mean, he only threw for 116 yards, so
Yeah,
obviously there's not a whole lot to talk about in terms of receptions and stuff.
no doubt, no doubt. And again, this is the receiver thing, down Godwin and Evans, and even there. I forget the rookie's name with the hammy that he was out 2 weeks ago. He played this week, but got 0 targets and 0 catches. So I'm assuming he got hurt again early or something. But Jalen McLaughlin, I think his name is. Hurting for weapons. So yeah, and it showed here against a good D. So I'm impressed that I don't know how these stats add up to a 3-point win for the Niners instead of a blowout.
Yeah, yeah,
Part of that was Jake Moody, by the way.
yeah. I don't get it either. There's nothing that says. I mean, they had 413 yards, and Tampa Bay had 215
Yeah, it doesn't add up.
total
Again,
yards.
another field goal kicker that missed 3 field goals, by the way, and this was none of them were blocked this time. This was 3 misses. Jake Moody came back after something like 4 or 5 weeks out with a sprained ankle and went 3 for 6.
Wow.
Yeah, so this could have been a little bigger, but not as big as you would think. Given even if he made all three of those field goals, it doesn't add up to those numbers.
That's weird. That's weird.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to get back to what I was at before. Sorry, stand by for a second.
No worries. Take your time.
Okay. Just real quick, I'm trying to get to my notes if there's anything here. Um, nah, nothing crazy. Yeah, no, nothing. I was seeing if there was any update on the receivers in Tampa, but there isn't.
Okay, Mike Evans still there. The last I heard is they were thinking he might come back after their bye this week.
All right. Okay. Another one of these blunder games where the ending is just absolutely insane. Pittsburgh 28, Washington 27. You got it right picking Pittsburgh, and I got it wrong. By the way, we both picked some upsets, and I got mine right with Carolina. You got yours right with Pittsburgh.
Hey, man. Yeah, I think not a bad thing to start thinking in that direction a little bit more. You know?
Yep, and our actual upset picks our normal ones that we do every week, where we go against what we actually picked. I had Jacksonville. Again, how it works is we go through the games and we actually pick an upset against what we actually picked. So I picked Minnesota to win the game, but my upset pick caveat was Jacksonville. That was wrong, and yours was Cincinnati, and that was wrong. So we didn't get our upset picks right in that respect, but the actual game picks that we picked some upsets right, we were pretty good.
Yeah, man. I love it. I like thinking about it that way too. So I'm in on doing that moving forward for sure.
So, did you see the end of this?
Yeah. When he drew the guy offside.
Are you how
Everybody
kidding
out there.
me? I mean, it's like the classic NFL blunder.
It's it is.
Oh, it's devastating. Oh my god! If I was a Commanders fan, I would be tearing my hair out. That I feel bad for the rookie. I mean, they were all very supportive and they were on the sidelines with him and stuff. But wow, what you gotta just want to crawl into a hole at that point. I mean, my God.
No doubt, man. No doubt. I mean that everybody knew what he was trying to do, and 10 people didn't move and one did. And it's just like you said, I feel bad for the kid, but he'll learn. And I guarantee you, by the way, that was his first penalty in like I think they were counting college or something because they said something like it was his first penalty in 53 games or something crazy. I forget what it was, but they must have been
Wow.
counting college. Because I know he's a rookie, but it's possible I misunderstood something there. But whatever it was, he hadn't had a penalty in long enough. They thought it worthy of mention,
Mhm.
and then boom, the biggest penalty you could ask for. Now Jalen Daniels had arguably his worst game as a pro, and there was no guarantee they were going to go down and score. But I sure would have liked to have seen them try.
Right. So if you don't know, um, Pittsburgh takes a late lead. The Commanders are Pittsburgh's trying to run the clock out, and they're about to punt. Commanders use all their timeouts, and they're about to punt. They just got to get through one more down, and they come out, and was it fourth down?
It was 4th and 1. Yep,
Right, fourth and one. So they're just coming out to try to draw them off sides,
yep.
and there's
It's
like
not the.
no time left. There's under a minute left.
It was right about a minute. Yep.
Yep, and they just do the hard count, and this kid, I even forgot his name,
I wrote it
unfortunately.
down. Wait, where was it? Johnny Newton.
Yeah, a rookie falls for the false count and and goes off sides. 5 yard penalty. Game over. They're kneeling. They're taking a
Game
knee
over.
after that.
Game over. And a
Oh,
hell of a game. I mean, we jump right
yeah.
to the end game, and it's understandable because it was the craziest ending. But aside from all that, man, and boy, it was one hell of a game. It really was.
Some numbers here. Terry McLaurin, 113 yards. Austin Eckler only had 44 yards on the ground, but he had 2 touchdowns.
Yes,
Jeremy
and
McNichols
a big
also had
kickoff
one.
return, by the way,
Yes.
all the way to like the 50 or so.
Yep. Yep. Um, for Pittsburgh. Oh shit! Get out of there! Come on.
I got you. Russell Wilson, 14 to 28, 195, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Najee and Jalen Warren is a guy that people have been waiting to take the job from Najee Harris for a while. Um, he had a big fumble on the 1 yard line when this game was not settled. He had a really good game other than that, a solid game other than that. And Najee didn't have a great game, but those people waiting for Jalen Warren to take over, you didn't see him after that fumble.
Right. Right. Yep. Um, George Pickens. The emergence of George Pickens continues. 91 yards and a touch.
Yes,
He is absolutely, if you're a fantasy guy, he's absolutely fantasy, not only relevant, he's a fantasy starter, in my
100%,
opinion.
100%. Top 15 receiver the rest of the year.
Yep. And as much as we kind of like Josh Fields, you can't go against what they've deciding to go with Russell. He's been very good, and
Oh no,
they've
this
been
is
very good.
clearly. I'm sorry, Craig. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just saying he's been very good, and they've been very good since he's taken over. You can't dispute the results. It was the right call.
100%. And I'm as big a Josh Fields guy as anybody. But it has been clearly the right move. It shows you again why Mike Tomlin is such a great coach. It's one of many, many reasons. It helped fix a lot of issues. This is the perfect guy for this team right now. The lollipop throw that he threw on 3rd and 9 when the Steelers
Yep.
were most likely going to kick a field goal, but he came up with this perfect lollipop pass. So I didn't even know Mike Williams was on the field all day.
Yeah.
And boom, it was catchable only by Mike Williams. It was perfect. It dropped down like somebody was standing on the ladder 50 feet above him and just dropped it straight down into his breadbasket. And it was a thing of beauty. The catch by Pickens earlier in the game on a similar type pass was a thing of beauty. Yeah, no, this was absolutely the right move, 100%. I still think Josh Fields has a chance to be a starter in this league. He might be battling Daniel Jones for places that have opportunities in the offseason. But Russell Wilson is clearly the guy for this team right now. Clearly.
Yep. Did Brian Robinson not play?
Correct. That was his
Right.
third game in a row, I think, with the hamstring.
Right. That's a big problem.
It is. It is because he's.
Their injury list is quite uh yeah, it is very long. Coming out of this game, Brian Robinson limited practice on Monday. Brandon Coleman had a shoulder. Their offensive tackle limited. Another offensive tackle, Cornelius Lucas, limited with an ankle. Andrew Wiley had a shoulder limited. This is all from Monday's walkthrough. Tyler
Mhm.
Biadasz, the former Cowboy, has ribs, foot, and thumb
Good heavens.
injuries.
What happened
But
to him?
he still had limited. He still participated on a limited basis.
Jeez.
Um,
It's like, wow, did somebody put him on the spin cycle in the dryer? What? How do you hurt all those things?
Ribs, foot, and thumb coming out of this game.
By the way,
Cle-
they were raving about your former center as like one of the best offensive linemen ever. Like it sounded like in that broadcast. Did you catch that?
yeah, I mean, he wasn't the best ever, obviously, or anything
I
like
know.
that. He's not even the best in the league right now. But when he was with the Cowboys, I just considered we have a very solid center. He's good.
Yeah, yeah.
I wouldn't say great, but he is solid as a rock. He's not going to hurt you in any way. He's a good, solid center.
Yes, well, the announcer, I forget, was that Romo in that game? I forget, but whoever it was decided he was right there with Mike Webster.
Yeah, laying on a little thick there, but that's
I
okay.
thought so too. Yeah.
So you got that one right. I got it wrong. Went with Washington. Um, okay. The Chargers over Tennessee 27-17. You both got it right. Tennessee is an absolute disaster.
Yeah,
Just
they're
an
awful.
absolute disaster. And
Absolutely pathetic.
yeah, and I got to say, the Chargers are really coming on now.
They are. They are. I mean, they are rounding into form for sure. Do you realize the Chargers are the number one defense in points allowed by 3 points a game?
which is a lot.
There's no more than a half a point separation between, or a point separation between any other slot in the to 32.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And
Um,
they've played some real teams. Like they have a really easy schedule moving forward too, so they have a real chance to lock up a playoff spot and get a half decent seed too.
yeah, I mean, the Harbaughs can coach, that's for sure.
No doubt about it. It's fun having him back in the NFL because he's such an oddball in a great fun way. You know, he's like kind of like a goofy dork that just happens to be a jock. You know,
Yeah.
and I love him. I mean, he's priceless. He does these terrible dad jokes and all this stuff. And what's the nickname? He's now calling Herbert Justin Herbert Beast Herbert.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Justin
freaking love it.
Herbert, I mean, just has reemerged now, solid. He didn't go crazy with the stats, but only 4 incompletions, 14 for 18, 164 yards and a touchdown, no picks. They ran the ball a lot. They had 39 rushes for 145 yards between Edwards and Dobbins. Herbert ran for 30 himself. A couple other guys. Herbert ran for a touchdown. And on the other side, Will Levis. Actually, Will Levis had a solid game.
For him, he had a great game,
18 for 23, 175 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks.
and he ran 5 times for 41 yards.
Calvin Ridley, 2 touchdowns.
To borrow one of your phrases that I love, the ghost of Calvin Ridley emerged
Exactly,
on Sunday.
yes.
He
Where's
earned
he
the
been?
first, yeah, he earned the first million or two of his contract that he signed in the offseason.
Jeez. Um, but yeah, Tennessee is 2-7 now. They are donezo. Um, I guess they'll just stay with Levis the rest of the way. Because what's the difference at this point?
Yeah,
Um,
I'm with you.
and the Chargers are 6-3, and I like where they're headed. You know what I'm seeing from them quite a bit,
I do
and
too.
they're going to be a tough out, and they're going to be tough to pick against the rest of the way. We're going to see, we'll see their schedule as it unfolds each week. But yeah, they have taken shape, and they are definitely a very good team.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. It's super impressive to see Harbaugh after what was it, about 10 years out of the league, and just come right back in and be a top coach. Very impressive.
It takes everybody some time. The Chargers had some up and down games at the beginning of the year. Um, just like anybody who's going to have a new coach or new coordinators or whatever, it's going to the first, like we've been saying, the first 4 weeks or so, it's still just preseason games.
Right, right.
Teams are just figuring it all out.
Absolutely, man. 100%. 100%, especially with a whole new regime, like you said, too. You combine that with the lack of preseason, and it's incredibly impressive to be 6-3 in your first season, man. It really is.
Okay, let's see here. I want to see if there's any injuries or anything to talk about with Tennessee. Doesn't look like it. Okay. Huh. Let's move on to a game we both got wrong.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
The New York Jets get absolutely annihilated in Arizona, 31-6.
Mm. And you take it after this, but are you with me that we can officially put the nail in the coffin of the Jets season?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, 3-7. You're done.
Right on. Right on.
You're done. Um, Kyler Murray had 2 incomplete passes,
He played great.
22 for 24, 266 yards and a touchdown. He ran for another 21 yards and 2 more touchdowns. I mean, his best game this year, and maybe his best game ever. I mean, that was phenomenal.
That's a phenomenal game, man. That's as efficient as you can ask a quarterback to be. It really is. And the fact that he's got the mobility threat and pulled off 2 touchdowns on his feet. Come on. I mean, he's a tough guy to figure sometimes, man. But I'll tell you, he is he's playing really well right now, and this Cardinals team is no freaking joke. It's
They're
time.
6-4, and they're in first place, and we don't put enough respect on their name.
No, because they've been so hard to figure out. They've been up and down, and every time I tried to jump on them, they lose. So I got butt hurt a little bit, but I got to get over it because this team is now legit. And here's a couple stats to go with that. The Cardinals have now allowed 0 touchdowns at home for 3 straight games. That's against the Chargers, the Bears, and the Jets. The Chargers
Wow.
are in that crew, by the way. Yeah. The Jets, the Cardinals, 406 total yards of offense. The Jets, 207. And this was after their big breakout last week that we thought they might be onto something with the Jets with their offense. And the Cardinals shut them down like they were nothing. So, yeah, this is super impressive, man. I am now officially have to respect the Cardinals.
The Jets are nothing. Um,
Agreed.
James Conner only had 33 yards rushing, but then he has 80 yards receiving, and he had a touchdown rushing as well. Um, Trey McBride, 71 yards. Did you see the play where Sauce Gardner tries to tackle him?
No.
It is the worst, most effortless tackle attempt I've ever seen. That guy has given up. He is a good cornerback. He is playing like crap, and he doesn't give a shit. That whole team looks like they do not care one bit. They missed an NFL record this season, and I'm not sure all time or not, but an NFL for this season, the most tackles they had 20 missed tackles in this game.
Oh, that's insane. And this was
20.
supposed to be one of the best defenses in football this year.
And they're
It was
literally
supposed
one
to.
of the worst. They're
Yeah.
literally one of the worst. They
Sauce
can't
Gardner
tackle anybody.
Sauce was all pro his first 2 years in the league, and his PFF rank right now is somewhere in the 60s.
Yeah, they can't tackle anybody. I watched a lot of this game. I didn't watch all of it, but I watched a lot of it. And every time anybody from Arizona had the ball, guys were just bouncing off of them, or just no tackle techniques at all. Just horrible, horrible tackling.
That's amazing, and it's not what you expected at all from this defense coming into the season. So yeah, it is a clear case of having given up on the. I mean, not even the coach because that coach is already gone, but the whole situation.
Yep, yep.
Oh,
Um,
and by the way, real quick, what is Sports Talk saying about the reign of Joe Douglas as the? Is it Joe Douglas? Do I have the name right?
yeah,
The GM. Because I just saw something about how I forget exactly what there was, it was a stat that I don't remember, but the point was the dude's been there way longer than most people with that bad of a record.
you would think, yeah. Um, yeah, the blame's going all around from the whole to the whole organization. I mean, they're Jets fans, so it's all doom and gloom anyway.
Well, yeah, this is just the norm for them. Yeah, that's
Right.
unfortunate. It's gotta suck.
And yeah, they want everything. They are just playing out the year and just want to see what happens afterwards. But they're not calling for anybody's. They're not calling for Joe Douglas's job necessarily. I mean, but they're not specifically saying for Joe Douglas's job, but they're
Yeah.
also saying Woody Johnson should like sell the team. Like that's like they don't want anything to do with anything that's going on right now. They don't know if they should have a fire sale, if they should just restock for next year. Plus, you don't know what Aaron Rodgers is going to do. Is he just going to be like, screw this, this is horrible, and just retire? Or is he going to give it another go? Because he did say in the offseason he wanted to play another 2 or 3 years.
Yep, absolutely. And the thing about Rogers is he'll go do ayahuasca in a tent for 3 months in the off season before he lets anybody know. So it'll be a real pain in the butt circumstance too.
Yep.
Um, it's if I if it was me, and clearly from the outside looking in, they should get rid of everybody involved in building this team. I mean, Joe Douglas. Listen, that guy came from the Eagles, and he was a valuable part of their front office. I have a lot of respect for Joe Douglas, but he's done an awful job. You can't say anything else. He's the one that drafted Zach, whatever, what's his name, Wilson.
Zach Wilson.
He drafted Zach Wilson, so he had his chance to take his quarterback, and he took the wrong one. He tried to fix it by bringing in the old great player. That hasn't worked. Yeah, it's bad, man. It's bad. I mean, I would blow up everything involved with that, including Aaron Rodgers, and start all over again if I were the Jets.
Yeah, the experiment didn't work. Obviously, they tried it and it failed, and that's all there is to it. And yeah, they're basically just screwed.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. And Aaron Rodgers might be taking a job from Daniel Jones and Josh Fields next year. We'll see. Somewhere else other than New York.
Right,
Would it be fun if
right.
he ended up a Giant?
Oh my God! Can you imagine if Daniel Jones is the coach of the Jets and Aaron Rodgers is the coach of the Giants
The
or
quarterback,
the,
yeah.
the head quarterbacks? Yeah.
That would be the funniest thing ever. That would be awesome. I would contribute
And they
to
both still suck.
Aaron Rodgers' contract to have him play for the Giants next year.
Oh my God. Yeah. Just bad. The statistics are all terrible as well.
Yeah, brutal.
All right.
Brutal. Oh, one
Oh,
fun one. Oh
also,
no, I did read that one. Never mind. I'm sorry. I had another. I'm Tourette'ing today. My apologies.
no problem. They are also saying that this game, while the defense missed all those tackles, and it's a whole team effort in the loss because their offense was so putrid as well. They're blaming the offense a lot because they've got all the weapons. They've got the makings of what you would think is a good offense, and it's not. It's complete garbage.
No doubt. We said the same thing about the defense, though. I mean, it should be 50-50. They both stink. They've both been awful. They're both talented on the surface and underachieving immensely.
Yep. Okay. Eagles 34, Cowboys 6. We'll just move on right past that one. Miami. Oh, damn it.
I love it.
All right.
Oh, shoot.
Um, Listen, when Cooper Rush has taken over for Dak Prescott in the past on a couple of occasions, when he broke
Hmm.
his ankle, and I forgot another time, Cooper Rush started the first 5 games of a year a few years ago of the year and went 4-1.
Yeah, he's been
Was
solid in
and
the
was
past.
competent. He was considered to be one of the best backups in the league, and I thought that. I
Understandable.
don't know what has happened. He was horrible.
Yeah,
I
absolutely
mean,
horrible.
he couldn't throw. He didn't throw the ball more than like 3 yards in the air.
It
Are
was
you
it,
kidding me?
it was crazy. I couldn't figure out what they were trying to do.
He was 13 for 23 for 45 yards
Yeah, man. I I I don't even know what to say about that. It's crazy. 45 yards, Craig.
on 23 passes
CeeDee Lamb caught 6 passes for 21 yards. That's a
because the ball
Wandale
was
Robinson.
never in the air.
Yeah, right. Oh, oh man.
Rico
Um,
Dowdle was okay. Elliott was nothing. Trey Lance comes on late and goes actually 4 for 6, but he threw a pick, of course. Um, just absolute, just abysmal.
yeah,
And I'll commend their defense a little bit on the first
yeah,
half because
yeah.
they played well. It was 14-6 at halftime, and I was like, all right, 14-6, I can live with that. And they were playing well. They actually got to Hurts a little bit.
No doubt.
Um, they got a couple sacks, and you saw Parsons back, made his impact felt, no doubt, for sure. But it seems just like the second half they got tired, or the fact that just the Eagles just wore them down. They're just a better team all around, and yeah, and it showed in the second half. They scored 20 points. Cowboys scored absolutely nothing. Couldn't do anything on offense. The Eagles made some adjustments, I'm sure, at halftime defensively to figure out that Cooper Rush, for whatever reason, is not being allowed to throw it more than 5 yards, and yeah, and of course we made no adjustments, and we could not keep up. We just could not keep up. Although I did say, watch what happens with Saquon Barkley. They've played well against him in his entire career. For whatever reason, he never does all that well against Dallas. And I said he wouldn't get 100 yards rushing, and he had 66.
Yeah, isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? Now
That's
he still
weird.
averaged.
It's just weird.
Yeah, it is. It is, and it's one of those things where They just didn't go to him much of that game. He still averaged like almost 5 yards a carry, I think.
Yeah. Yep.
But you're right. I mean, it did not get over 100 yards. That's for sure. Yeah, a
But
couple
AJ
things.
Brown killed him. AJ Brown 109 yards, and of course Jalen Hurts 202, two touchdowns. That one pick um, was actually really well. That was a good pick. That was a nice pick.
It
But
was.
you know, the Eagles just they're flying high. They're doing so well right now. They any questions you had at the beginning of the year, especially me, they're gone. They're one of the top teams in the league. I'm really looking forward to them in some of these big games coming up with them to really have a good test. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
They're your team though, so go ahead.
All right, man. Well, I mean, you said a lot of it really well. There's some specific things I want to hit. One, let's talk about the sun. Did you
CeeDee
hear?
Lamb didn't even know that ball was in the air.
Dude, and let me just lay it out a little bit for the people that didn't see it, because you and I know for sure. There was CD Lamb was open for a touchdown. The pass was a little behind him. If he had seen it, he might have been able to adjust and catch it. But because of the design of that stadium, there is this weird open-ended sort of slotted thing on both ends of the stadium. And there's a certain time of day that you just can't see at all if you're looking in that direction. And and then Jerry, did you hear any of Jerry's quotes afterward, falling all over himself about this thing?
No, I didn't.
Oh, it was great. He's like, yeah, yeah, like I don't know what's going on with my stadium. I built the damn thing. You know what I mean? Like, and then somebody said to something to CD Lamb about would you like them to do something about it? He goes, yeah, I think we should put up curtains. And Jerry, then somebody didn't tell Jerry that CD said that, and just asked him about the idea of putting up curtains. He's like, yeah, I'm going to defile my $1 billion stadium with curtains. You know? Oh, it was priceless, man. So yeah, so that was some fun right there. Now to get serious for a second, this was a game until Zeke fumbled at the inside the 5 yard line.
Yeah, because they were going in to make it a 1 point game or go for
Exactly.
two and tie it.
It was 14-6 at that point, right? Yep.
Yeah, 14-6, and he fumbles into the end zone.
Into the end zone and game over. Never was
Yeah, and
ever
then
to
that
be
was it. The
close again.
floodgates opened, and then Philadelphia just stepped on their throat. But yeah, it was a game up until that point. Like I said, I'll give the defense some credit up to that point. After that, forget about it.
For sure.
But
And
they
they
played.
if you
Go
sorry,
ahead.
Craig, keep going. Sorry.
No, I was just saying they played well in the first half,
They
and that's
really
all I could
did.
say.
Really did. And if you had told me they were going to end up with 5 sacks and a pick, I would have told you this game was going to be a lot closer.
Yeah.
But like you said, almost all that came in the first half. The Eagles, by the way, forced 5 turnovers, one
Yep.
pick, and 4 fumbles. Four
Yep.
fumbles. Um, there's a couple other things to note about this. Oh, while we were blinking, the Eagles have become the number 2 overall defense yards per game, and the number 5, tied with Kansas City for 5th at points per game.
Wow.
Uh
Wow.
huh. I can't believe it based on what we were seeing in week 2 or 3. So it's just so cool to see. And a big part of that is Cooper Jean becoming a full time starter. And this guy's a stud. The other rookie corner, who eventually I'll memorize his name, is also a stud. And they are going to be set up for years with these two. And I love it. It's so awesome to see. I can't believe it. Beautiful thing. And yeah, I couldn't be happier with how the Eagles are playing. Everything is clicking on all cylinders. We have a real test coming up this week, which we'll talk about in the next pod. But and I can't wait to see how they hold up.
Oh, by the way, the star of that defense in the first half, especially, we were talking about
Overshown,
that guy.
dude,
Wow.
beast.
Demarvian Overshone. Are you kidding me? He was phenomenal.
Well, part of what solidified this blowout for the Eagles was when he got hurt. I don't think he came back in the game. Did he? Do you know
Yeah,
anything
he's got
about that?
bursitis in his right knee, but it doesn't appear to be significant, and the x-rays came back negative.
Good, good. I'm glad. I was hoping it wasn't anything long term for
And
that
I'll
guy.
tell you what, the cornerback that was on A.J. Brown, Carson, he's
Yeah,
one of the worst cornerbacks in the league.
100%. Yeah, no,
That
he's
guy
a.
is awful, and talk about missing Bland. My God, we need him back.
Is he ever coming back this season?
I don't know because you hear that he's practicing and he might come back and then he never plays.
He's on the Amari Cooper plan.
Yeah. And of course,
Yeah,
Dak is going to have season-ending surgery, so that's the end of
yep,
that.
that's the end of that. Oh, by the
And
the one fun thing I wanted to mention, because eventually they brought in Trey Lance,
yeah,
and I forgot how fun it is to watch Trey Lance run. That dude runs so crazy and hard and wild. It is a riot to watch.
yeah, yeah, it could be interesting at the very least. They should just play him and let him run around.
I agree. I mean, it can't hurt. Listen, Cooper Rush, whatever. We thought maybe he was one of the best backups in football. Probably not now. And
But what happened?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Well, I'll tell you what.
He's played well. We've seen it.
Smith, your great tackle is now in wherever. Who's he playing for now?
The
The Jets.
Jets.
And some of that offensive line is it's just not quite as good as it was. So for a guy like Cooper Rush, who's not anywhere near the most talented guy in the NFL, everything has to go right. And that offensive line was kicking on all cylinders 2 years ago. It's not now.
But I mean, to go 4-1 and look good doing it. Solid games. To go from that to just an absolute disaster, just a dumpster fire. It doesn't make any sense. Even with the offensive line, you wouldn't think it would be that to that degree.
Now, maybe let's see what happens. Who are the? Well, we'll talk about it in the next pod. But let's see what happens because the Eagles have all of a sudden worked themselves into one of the best defenses in football and one of the best
Yeah,
secondaries. So
yeah.
maybe next week he'll look a little better. But I mean, listen, I'm not. I don't think the Eagles are the 85 Bears by any means. So 44 yards is or 45 yards is insane. So yeah, I don't know what to tell you there, man. I don't know what happened because I thought he was going to. I would have played CD Lamb in fantasy without even thinking about it because you go back and you look at his stats with Cooper Rush before that game. He averaged like 8 catches and like 70 some yards a game.
Yeah.
Not this
Um.
week. Whew.
Okay. Well, real quick. Some injuries on the Eagles' end. Devonta Smith didn't participate in Monday's walkthrough, or they call it the estimated practice. I don't know what that
Yeah.
means.
Yes.
Dallas Goddard did not as well. Jordan Mailata had his 21-day practice window open from injured reserves. You might be getting him back.
That'd be sweet. I mean,
And then,
their backup, by the way, Fred Johnson has played unbelievably well for
yep.
given the circumstances. And when he's a free agent, look for somebody to sign him as a full time starter.
And then Slay also did not practice.
Yeah, and for everybody but my lot that you mentioned, all came back this past week for the first time in a few weeks. So I
So they're
expect
probably getting the day off.
exactly. Yeah, I wouldn't expect any of them to miss next week.
Okay. Well, I'm good to move on from that disaster if
Oh,
you
oh,
are.
one other thing we have to talk about before we move on. Nothing more about the game. We covered that thoroughly. But how about Micah Parsons' comments about Mike McCarthy? Have
What
you
did
heard
he
it?
say?
Oh, you haven't heard this. They're talking about it on ESPN. Jeff Saturday is pontificating right now about this whole thing. So, um, hold on a sec. Oh, and I have another. Oh, don't let me forget, Craig. After this, I have another dumb thing that.
What? I lost
Oh,
you.
sorry. I gripped the phone bad. Sorry, my bad. I usually only do that when I'm angry or working up to something, but this time I was just excited. Two things. One about the Micah Parsons thing, and another thing I have. After that, I have another dumb thing that Nick Sirianni did. That even in victory, I still have to point this out.
Okay.
So let me just pull up the Micah Parsons quote. So he was talking on his podcast, and this stuff's going to happen with people that have podcasts because stuff just flies out of your mouth. But
Yeah.
here we go. But he said. Now I'm not going to be able to find the damn quote. I should have pulled this up ahead of time. I thought I kind of had it memorized, and I don't. So bottom line is he said in his post, it was his post game comments, not his podcast. He tried to clarify on the podcast then the day later. Um, he said, "I never once intended to throw Mike McCarthy under the bus." Oh, this is his. Dang it, Craig. Let me come back to this because I need to find the quote or the whole thing's. Here we go. I found it. All right. Here's what he said.
Okay.
Mike McCarthy can leave and go wherever he wants. Guys I kind of feel bad for are guys like Zach Martin and guys who might be on their last year on their way out, because that's who I wanted to hold the trophy for. You want to win games and do great things for those types of legends who put in more time and work than Mike McCarthy ever did.
Oh my God.
Yeah, buddy. Like that is like, and then he went on and basically said on his podcast, I didn't say anything bad about Mike McCarthy. I never, what the exact quote is, I never once threw or intended to throw Mike McCarthy under the bus. Well, that quote, and the quote, I heard the quote. That is not the press misreporting the quote. I heard it on ESPN.
Wow.
Yeah. So we all know he's a lame duck anyway, and he's going to be gone at the end of the season, but it just got more awkward in Dallas.
Uh,
Yeah.
I guess they're
So
not going to fire him mid-season.
it's, I guess not, man. I mean, I guess that's not Jerry's style. Then he's going to have to admit he was wrong, and he doesn't like to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so now this one will make you chuckle because Sirianni, even as the Eagles are now 7-2, I'm loving life, and some of his silliness is fading into the weeks, hopefully here. But check this out: leading up to last week's game, he was asked at the Friday, or no, he said unprompted that Jalen Hurts was dealing with an ankle issue. Hurts was a limited participant in Wednesday's practice and given the rest designation. The Eagles
Okay.
quarterback practiced in full on Thursday. Now, here's the Sirianni quote. It was on their injury report dealing with an ankle, just making sure we're precautious with everything. Okay, that was his quote. That was the first time anybody in the affiliate heard anything about this. Then, Sirianni was informed immediately after his comments that the Wednesday report listed rest for Jalen Hurts. He then pulled a 180 on what he said. It was rest, Sirianni said. Sorry, I thought you were talking about something else. I mean, this guy is like Mr. Magoo. My team is 7-2 and coached by Mr. Magoo.
He's such a gomer.
It really is. It's incredible. It's incredible.
Uh,
Oh, I thought that was funny.
that is pretty funny.
Oh, shoot. All right. Sorry to drag that on, but I thought they were both worth talking about.
No, they were. They were. They're definitely.
Cool.
Um. Okay. Another game where a good to great team escapes in a game they should have lost. The Lions 26, the Texans 23. The Texans were outplaying them completely. 23-7 at halftime.
Yep.
Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions.
Five.
How do they
Five.
win this game?
Five. Oh, before we dive hardcore into this, let me ask you a question that I heard, trivia question, based on that. Because this number is, I got this wrong. I'll say that right off the bat. How many quarterbacks do you think in the Super Bowl era, or how many teams have had a quarterback in the Super Bowl era throw 5 interceptions and still win the game?
I think it's two.
10.
Wow.
That's crazy to me. Can you? I mean, that just because this was such a crazy win, and I was trying to think. Oh, I wonder how blah, blah. I can't believe that 10 teams won in that circumstance because it was just an insane confluence of events that led to the Lions winning this. So just
I'm almost
amazing.
positive Romo did it, and think Peyton Manning did it too.
Yeah, Romo was on that list for sure.
Yeah.
I saw a list of 4 that they listed since 1990 during the game, but then if you include the whole Super Bowl era, apparently it's 10.
Wow. That's a lot. That's way more than I thought.
Me too, because I was guessing 4 because it's what I saw on TV, but it went back further than they showed on TV apparently. But anyway, let's dive into the game because the game was unbelievable. But I just had to mention that real quick because that's an all-timer stat.
Yeah, Goff just not good. 15 for 30.
Brutal, dude.
240 yards, 2 touchdowns, but 5 picks. Gibbs got 71 yards. Montgomery 32 yards and a touch. Laporta had a nice touchdown. Amon-Ra St. Brown had a touchdown. Not nothing crazy for yardage. Nothing crazy for yardage on the other side either. C.J. Stroud was better than Goff. 19 for 33, 232. 1 touchdown only instead of 2, but only 2 interceptions compared to 5.
Right? Yeah,
You
yeah.
would think that Houston was going to win. They had this game won.
They had it won 23-7. It was right. Is that what it was at one point?
23-7.
Yeah, at halftime. That's insane. By
They
the way,
did not score in the second half.
check out Mixon's stat line.
26 for 46. 25 for 46.
25 for 4. That's less than 2 yards a carry. And he's been great this year. He's been great.
And he had
So,
44 yards receiving as well.
yes, and he's been awesome. So you give him a pass, but that just tells you what a tough struggle it was for them to try and do anything in the second half.
Oh my god.
Unbelievable, man. This is a game that should have opened up the number one seed for any other team other than Detroit thinking about it right now. And they in the NFC, and they still pulled this off. Incredible.
8-1.
Unbelievable, man. And did you see how the two field goals Bates made for the Detroit in the last couple minutes were good by a combined total of about 6 inches?
Yeah, oh, the one that they won on, I was like, oh my god, it's gonna doink off the upright.
Yes, yes. Oh, and there's a great video or meme or whatever you want to call it going around right now. Did you happen to see this where there was a flight attendant on an air flight trying to give the one of the flight speeches, I don't know if it was as they were taking off or landing, I'm not sure. Safety talk or whatever she was doing. Right as the field goal kicker lined up, and there was a bunch of, it must have been going to Michigan or this flight or something because there's a ton of Detroit fans, and she starts talking. Everybody goes, "Boo! Shut the hell up! Boo!" And she shuts up. And then she stops for 5 seconds. And then the kick still hasn't happened. She starts up again, and they all go. They boo her down again. And then the field goal happens. The whole plane goes crazy.
That's fantastic.
I loved it. Yeah, this was crazy, man. This is a game at the end of the year that the Lions are gonna, when they are home the entire playoffs, which is looking pretty good for them right now, although far from a lock. But if they end up there, they're gonna look back at this one and be like, "Whoop, this is why we're home, baby."
Yeah. The only injuries I got coming out of this game is Laporta is day to day with a shoulder injury he suffered during the game. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. It doesn't say anything about his status, but it just said it's day to day.
And what a bummer if that was actually something that really affects him moving forward, because Laporta has been the biggest bust in fantasy football this year,
Yeah,
and
he
he
has.
and he finally got going, Craig, and now he hurts his shoulder.
Yeah, yeah,
Hopefully he's all good. I mean, day to day sounds optimistic, but I mean, he was a guy I drafted him in a lot of leagues, and I dropped him in a few of them over the last few weeks. So, I don't know. That's a tough one, but he had a heck of a game, so hopefully he's okay. This could be the start of him getting back to his rookie form.
yep. Okay, so another game that makes no sense. The Rams, you don't know what you're going to get week to week. Sometimes they look good, sometimes they look bad, and nothing is consistent. They drop a game at home to the Dolphins, who are even with the win, they're only 3-6.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, what the hell's going on? They had 68 plays to Dolphins 53. They had 327 yards to Dolphins 238. They they had way more penalties though. They had six penalties to only one by the Dolphins.
Oh, that's
Um,
significant. Yeah,
yeah, but still, time possession was even. It nothing. It just doesn't make sense.
yeah,
I
yeah. This was
doesn't add up.
this this is
Stafford,
fascinating.
yeah,
Absolutely.
Stafford, 32 for 46, 293 yards. Tua only had 207 yards.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, this was wild, man. And Coop and I mean Cup and Puka both had very good games. Man, this was there are a couple things about this game. One, I just want to say this: Jared Verse is really good. Their first round draft pick in 7 years, by the way. Jared Verse is a player. He was one of the top 2 to 4 defensive ends on everybody's board coming out. He wasn't number one on anybody's board, but he's been the best defensive end in the rookie crop so far. He had a couple really big plays. He stripped the ball he had a strip sack that he recovered himself, and he's a heck of a player. Um, I think this trying to make sense of this, I think it makes a little more sense than maybe on the surface. I think this is Tua's second or third game back, right? Third game back?
I think third.
Third. Um, I think they're starting to become a semblance of what most people thought they would be coming into this season. Not that they're good, not that they're great, are even good, but I think they're now becoming semi-solid. You know, um,
Okay, I can buy that.
yeah. So, and they're, by the way, the one thing that's gone underreported because they've been so bad and they're completely irrelevant until this week is their pass defense is outstanding,
Yep.
and they got the best cornerback in football back this week after being out for 2 weeks, Jalen Ramsey.
Yep.
So I guess maybe that's the best kind of take I can come up with for it. You
Well, we
know,
said the same thing about the Rams that they get their guys back, they're fully acclimated again, and we're looking good. And then it's just a total turd. I don't
yeah,
understand.
and maybe they're just not as good as we thought. You know, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Miami's better than we thought, the Rams are worse than we thought, or the truth is somewhere in between. You know,
I don't get how they're this bad.
yeah, I don't
Or
either.
how they were this bad for this game. They're now sitting here at 4-5. Yeah, I don't know what the Rams are a mystery to me. Oh,
I agree. They've been one of the toughest teams in the league to figure out all year. And just when we thought we had a handle on it because the receivers were back, we were wrong again.
okay. Well, that's it, man. That's the week that was.
Boom.
By the way, I am saying we both got that wrong because we both picked the Rams. We both got Detroit right. We both got Philadelphia right, and we both got the Chargers right and the Jets wrong.
Yes.
So another crazy week in the NFL, and Week 11 is going to be even crazier.
Oh, it's a one hell of a schedule. Can't wait to talk about it on the next pod.
Yes, make sure you guys join us. Remember, we do this every week, 2 pods a week, every week. And we are going to preview week 11. And the next one, by the way, it's already week 11. Wow.
Yeah, how about that, man? How about that? Yeah. Oh, and one thing I wanted to mention real quick is we've gotten some nice numbers on YouTube. So if anybody out there listening wants us to ask a question, if you're cool with this, Craig, I should have asked you this ahead of time, but I think you'll be cool with it. Just throw it on the comments on YouTube. We'll discuss it.
Absolutely. Yes.
Audience participation is welcome.
No doubt about it. We definitely would welcome that for sure. Okay. Well, listen. Um, yeah, I'm looking at the week 11 schedule. Sorry.
Oh,
And
it's
I'm
awesome.
getting distracted by it. It's a very good schedule. I cannot wait to get into it. So let's just do that. I'm ready to move on to that one, guys. If you're listening, make sure you check out the week 11 preview. I'm releasing them closer and closer together, and I might even just release them at the same time or within just a few minutes of each other now every week. For sure, no doubt about it now, because like Al said, we're getting some numbers now. Some people are listening, and we want to be one of the first ones out there every week. So that's why I'm trying to release them both pretty early.
Yeah, I love that, man. And thank you to everybody that's listening. Thank you very much.
No doubt about it. Okay, so Al, if you have anything else to add,
I am good to go, my friend. Can't wait to start this preview episode.
okay. Until next time, guys. Until the preview show, make sure you check that out. I will see you later.